okay, white power in America. Now, we can attribute it to slavery, we can attribute it to racism. You know, you had the whole Jim Crow laws, which pretty much, and the laws before that, the whole 3/5 rule, all these are the laws that pretty much legalized white supremacy and made it so that you can, you know, make whatever, you can use black people as tools, okay, property, capital, okay, you know, we can obviously attribute that to white supremacy and, you know, the white financial hold on America. But what I can say in regards to what they did that helped them maintain their power and grow their power is that they pooled their resources. Okay, when they started to come over here, you know, in the early 20th century, you know, the early 1900s, you know, the migration, you had people from different countries in Europe, own language, own culture, own everything, came over here after some time, pooled their resources together. Hey, your skin looks like mine, we both have blue eyes, this, that, and the third. You know, we're going to work together. Okay, it's as simple as that. We want to not only survive, but we want to do well. So our only choice is to come together. So who gives a fuck if you're from Norway or you're from Belgium? Let's come together and just put a chokehold on the game. I mean, look, America, if you think about the American white person, is it nothing more than just a composite of different European nations? What is American? For a white person to say I'm American, that makes no sense to me. Where are you from? Belgium? Norway? But they don't know it. You know, you got some white hick who's I'm American. You're American. What the hell are you talking about? Your people came over here in the 1900s, right? You know, they came over here in 1910, 1920. Where are you from? They don't know. Because they've bought into that whole system that we're all the same. Okay, and in that way they pool their resources. It's as simple as that. You know, I don't know, maybe if you go to Europe, they're still on some, well, I'm French and, you know, you're from Germany, so we don't stick together. But the second they're coming to America, it's just like, hey, you know, we're American now, we're all the same. We pool our resources. So the best and brightest of all these different European nations, we can come together because we're all white. But in terms of the black diaspora, we don't really have it. Shit, even with Nigerians alone, you're not going to see somebody who's Yoruba fucking with somebody who's Igbo or Shakiri. Hey, let's pull our resources together. You know, we're Nigerian. No. Let alone two different countries in Africa coming together and saying, hey, you're Ghanaian and I'm Ethiopian. You know, let's get this party started. You're not going to see that. You know, you're not going to see the best and brightest of, you know, American blacks and, you know, people who are from Jamaica or from wherever coming together. The best and brightest pooling their resources. Where you have this whole idea that there's, you know, only one black sort of monolithic culture. That's nothing more than the composite of the best and brightest. You need that. It's as simple as that. You're not going to compete with a system that is a composite. You're not going to compete with a system that says, hey, I don't care where you're from, let's pool our resources together so we can look like the biggest, baddest monster. It's like, you know, the Power Rangers who come together and they form, you know, whatever they call it, the Zord or wherever it is, versus them as the Green Ranger, the Blue Ranger, the Yellow Ranger. That's how black people are, going up against white culture who has come together and said, we're going to be our Zord, with our sword, and, you know, and we're the composite of all the different parts. Because we don't put our shit together. Yeah, there's pros and cons to it. I'm not even gonna lie. Is there going to be a loss of culture? Of course it is. But if you look at it, they've created the American culture. How new is American culture? How new is the American white person? Yet when we think of America, we think of white people because they've successfully created a new culture. In less than 200 years, they've created a brand new culture with their own history, their own this, that, and the third. The American white person, how old is it? And you look at, the Egyptian culture and all these other cultures that took place over thousands of years, yet the American culture has its own distinct, unique culture. And yes, there's a loss of the individual parts in terms of, what was going on with people from Finland and Norway and, Belgium and all these other places. I get that. But they created something new that benefits them. And honestly, where I'm at, I feel like that's the next step. I really don't mind giving up things that are, pertaining to me and my Africanness to come together and, with different black people from the black diaspora and almost creating a new black racial identity. I really don't have a problem in doing that because I know the pros of doing that. But we can't because we segregate. We all bitch and complain about how we're at the bottom everywhere. But when we have the opportunity to come together and say, hey, let's do something, let's pool our resources. I don't care if you speak different from me. I don't care if you wear your clothes are different from mine. We can do this. We don't. Shit, go to South America and other places. You got people looking like, what's his name? David Ortiz, Big Papi from the Red Sox or whatever they call him. Black as hell, right? But you talk to that person and they're not even going to identify as black. They're going to identify as, South American or something that's, definitely not black. And that's the shit that I'm talking about. But yet everybody wants to bitch and complain. If you think about it, just go to any place in the black diaspora and, black people will always seem to be at the bottom. But if you give black people the opportunity from the black diaspora to come together and form something, let's make our super duper robot, right? Is it going to happen? No, it's not going to happen. What do you think you have to do? Like, what pisses me off is it really doesn't seem like overall we're prepared to do what it has to do to be empowered. Go watch any gangster flick and watch the rise of power from the young dude who was, running numbers or selling drugs and how he became the kingpin and what he had to do. We're not ready to do it. And the sad thing is, we want power, and we talk to the people who are in power and bitch complain to them why they should give up their power to us. You have to take it. You have to take it. Right? Don't go to a gunfight with a sword. I don't care if it's a machete or whatever it is, some katana or whatever. It's not going to work. You're just going to get gunned down. So until we're ready to pull the resources, it's not going to happen. Prime example, you look at Obama. What were the black intellectuals saying? They weren't sure on him because he didn't grow up typical of the American black person in terms of not having a father, growing up in poverty. They weren't going to endorse him. It's as simple as that, and that's that mindset. Because you didn't grow up like me, or because you're not from here, and you're not from here, and you didn't grow up this way, and you didn't face this issue, I'm not going to work with you. But that's not how the white diaspora thinks. It's not how they think. It's not how Americans think. They don't care who you are. You could be from wherever. Come to America. We want you to be part of, us, because we know, you make us stronger. Right? I don't care if you're from Australia or wherever. I don't care if you're Russian. Oh, if you're successful and you're in America, no. We have to incorporate you. Come in because you're going to make us stronger. Hey, let's help you. You have some money, you can invest it with me. Let me help you out. That's that mentality. But we don't think along those lines. Just think about it. Take a second and think about what's going on. Think about the American white culture and how brand new it is on the end when you compare it to other great civilizations across, the entire human existence that took place over thousands of years. And look how brand new the American culture is, but look how strong it is already. And look at what they gave up and what they gained. So, like I said, that's my video. Y'all think about it. Take care. God bless.